Good morning, all. Today we are going to discuss about the database connection, SQL database connection with the VB.NET application. So here I have created a form which includes two labels, username and password, and two text fields for username and password, and one login button. So what we are actually going to do is that we'll check whether the username and password matches when the login button clicks. For that, we have to store the username and password in a database. Here we are using SQL Server. For that, we need SQL Server Management Studio. So the open the SQL Server Management Studio, and in that we are going to create a database, and in that a table and its corresponding data items. So just open this SQL Server Management. Here we have to connect to the SQL Server. After connecting to the SQL Server, you can see databases. Click on the database, right click, new database. Okay, so here we are creating the new database and we have to specify the name of the database. So here I'm specifying the name of the database as student and click on OK. So a database named student has been created. So the click on this student database, just expand it. Here you can see tables. So we have to create table. So right click and then new, then table. While creating a table, we are specifying the column name and its corresponding data type for this particular column. So first column name is username. That is first attribute is username. And here I am specifying its data type as numeric. And the next one is password. And that is specified as varchar as it is. And after that, you have to save this. Okay, that is Control S. When clicking Control S, you have to specify the name of this particular table. Here I am specifying the name of the table as student itself. If you need, you can change the name of the table and click on OK. So the name of the a table named student has been created and click on this table, just expand it. Here is the created table. Click on that particular table and the next one is new query. Here in the top, the new query. So we are adding the data items to this particular table by using this SQL statements. For that, we have to use the particular database. So use the name of the database is student. Correct. So student and semicolon. After that, we have to execute this query, select it and click on execute. So the message is comments completed successfully. So everything is fine. After that, we have to insert some values in this particular table. So that insert into, and after you have to specify the name of your table. That is here the name of the table is student, and next values. So the username I am giving as 1 and the password is I am giving as ABC and semicolon. And again select it, execute it. So one row affected. Compilation is successful. Again, I am adding one more row with the particular table named student. I am changing the username and password. Selected, execute query. So first we have created database. Inside the database, we have created a table. Inside the table, we have add some values. After that, you have to select the server name in order to connect this server from our VB.NET application. For that, select this particular server. This desktop IEQ M2K is mine. Right click, then connect. Okay, from here you have to copy this server name. Control C and you can click close. Okay, so the next is our SQL. Sorry, this Visual Studio. In that Visual Studio, you have to click Tools. From Tools, connect to Database. Okay, here you have to change the data source. Our data source is SQL Server and click on OK. Then after that, you have to specify the server name. The server name's already copied. So paste it. And here you can check for the connection. Okay. Before testing the connection, you have to select the database. Our database is student and select it and check the test connection. If the test connection is succeeded, that is the connection between the server and VB.NET application is successful. Then only you will be getting the message. Otherwise, you will be getting some error message. Click on OK. So we have connected the server here. And the next procedure is we have to add the code section. That is, whenever the username and password clicks, we have to check whether it is username and password is matches. Okay, that we have stored some username and password, whether it is matching or not. So for that, double click this login button, and here we have to add the code. So what we are actually checking here is that whether they are entering some values or keeping as it is blank. If they are keeping that is the user is keeping the username field as blank, we have to give some notification. That is, you have to enter some username. For that, we are using message box. We are asking the user to enter the username. Okay, ask the user to enter the username, and we are focusing to that particular text box. Then same thing. Okay. So then we have to create a connection with the server and along with the database and the table. Okay. So for that, we are including or we are importing the namespace imports system dot data dot SQL client. Okay. And this namespace provides classes for interacting with the Microsoft SQL database or SQL database. So after that, importing this system.data.sql client, we have to create a connection object. That is, we have to create a variable dim con for connection as new SQL connection. Okay, so this SQL connection is used to establish a new connection with the database. Okay, it's establish a connection with the server. And after that, we have to set up the connection. That is con as equals new SQL connection. And here we have to specify the connection string. That is, we are passing this connection string as an argument. Whenever we want to create a new instance of a connection, we are creating this connection string. So the connection string can be obtained by just from here, from the data connections, you can see the database. Okay, so just select it. On the property section, here the connection string is here. Double click on this connection string, then copy, Control C, and you have to paste it, Control V. Okay, so the connection is established. In this connection string, the name of the server and its database name, some credential details, already it will be there. That's much important details will be passing as an argument. After the connection instance is created, we have to open that connection instance. So con dot open. Okay, so we have opened this connection, and the next procedure is that we have to, the connection is established, then we have stored some values in our table. So we need that values. For that, we are creating commands. Okay, so again, we are declaring a variable that is cmd as new SQL command. Okay, this SQL command will contain SQL queries. Okay, that SQL queries will be fetching some result set. So this SQL command, we have to add cmd equals new SQL command, and here we have to specify the command. So what is the command? What is the query? Select star from, what is the table name? That is, the name of the table is student. Select star from student, where the username should match as the username that is entered in this particular text box. Correct. Here what is entered, that should be matched. So where username equals what all values that they are entered in the text box. That is text box 1 dot txt. And password equal and text box 2 dot text. So we have created this SQL query here. Correct. That is SQL command. Select a star from student where username is equal to textbox1 txt and password equals textbox2 txt. So after that, what we have to do is we have to connect this command, that is SQL command, with this already established connection. So that cmd dot connection equal con. Okay, so we have established the opened the connection, and after that we specified the SQL command, SQL query, and that is connected with the connection object, that is SQL query. In the CMD contain SQL query that is connected with this connection object, and after that we have to execute this query. For that we'll be using another variable as dr for data reader. Okay, so this SQL data reader is used to execute this particular SQL query against the database. So we have created an object dr as SQL data reader. Excuse me. And next we have to execute this particular query. For that, dr equal our SQL query is in cmd dot execute query. Sorry, execute reader. So that's done. Now the query is executed and it is stored in this dr. It's a result set. It will be containing all the results that is obtained by executing this particular query. So after this, we have to check whether something is in this particular data reader object. Why? Because when this particular username and password matches, at that time only we will be getting some results. Okay, if and only if the username and password matches, then only we'll be getting some results. So we are checking that. For that, we are using some try catch statement. I'll explain why we are using the try catch block here. Here we are checking if data reader object dr dot read. Okay, this read method is used to advance the next record in result set. Okay, then message box login successful. Otherwise, if any result is not there, that is whenever this particular query executes and if the username and password matches, it will contain some values. Okay, after executing this query execute reader, it will contain some values. We are fetching that particular value one by one. Okay, so if dr.read, read is a method which will be advanced to the next record in a result set. So we will be getting login as successful. If some value is there, it means the username and password is correct. Otherwise, we are just in checking that, not checking, we are just making the user to know that is you have to recheck invalid. Okay, invalid username and password. That's invalid username and password. So after that, we have to close that particular data read object. For that, dr.close method is used. And here we'll be using another message box. I'll explain, which contain username should integer. Okay, so done. So we'll be entering username in this field and password here. Okay, if we are keeping this username as empty, then this particular code section will be executing. Okay, so suppose there are some situation, we are already said that username is an integer. Suppose by mistake or the user is entering some character values here, that should be identified. For that, we are creating this particular section of code. That is, if they are creating other than anything, it will be going to an exception section. That is, username should integer or password should character. Okay, we can execute this particular code. The username is 1 and the password is ABC. Login. See, login successful. That's one case. And here I am entering 1, 2 and trying to log in. See, invalid username and password. Okay, because 1, 2 is not registered. We have registered 1 and 2, not 1, 2 in this particular table. And here I am trying to enter ABC. This is the third scenario. See, username should integer and password should character. There are some cases if the object in this particular dr.read as doesn't match in username or password, that exception should be catched. That is here. Okay. So this is how we can connect a database to this particular VB.NET application. It's very simple. We need some practice.